What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Izetta Episode 4. Okay, this episode, I know many are probably going to be complaining about certain things, and myself included, I do want to complain about certain points about this episode. But I want to save that for a little bit later in this video. I want to talk about what this episode brought to the table, and what was really enjoyable about it. For starters, the world building, and also the character development we got in this episode, alongside of some setup for some potential plot points for the future of this series. So getting right into it, let's talk about the world building. As we all know, since the very beginning of this series, it's been having a blend of World War alongside of a magical theme, especially with Izetta, our witch character in this series. And in this episode, we know that she's kind of like the second coming of the White Witch. And we know since the first episode, there's constantly been a mentioning of the White Witch and all that, how this White Witch is a legend and saved the people a long time ago. And now Izetta is following that kind of line to where she's going to be like the next White Witch. She is like the second coming, and she's here to save the princess and her people and her country. So because of this, we get a little bit of world building of why this is necessarily wrong, and why maybe Izetta's entire family and her witch friends probably were nomads while they traveled around the entire world, and they never really had a home, probably was because of what the White Witch did. So let's talk about it. So apparently, if a witch was to reveal anything or any information about themselves, like they can use magic, or if they were to reveal any information about the ley lines, which is underneath the ground, that's where the witches draw their power from, it would cause it to where they would be hunted down by the other witches, they would be killed, and everyone that knows about the secret would be killed as well. So this is a very well-kept secret. It's a secret that's been passed down for a long time between witches, and you should not, explain this or let anyone know about this individual information when it comes to the ley lines and how magic works and how witches draw upon their power, because this is, like I said, top secret information. So with this, it lets us know that Izetta is not a character that is all-powerful. This lets us know that there is going to be times throughout the series to where there's going to be areas she's in to where she can't, have that instant win. Like, how her character so far from what we've seen is very powerful. She ripped apart an entire army that was charging, one of the cities, and she managed to win by herself. And so this lets us know she's very powerful, but with also this episode in the world building, we got the information about the ley lines to how witches work in general. It lets us know that Izetta, she's not all powerful. There's going to be times throughout the series to where she's not going to be able to help at all. Like, for instance, if like anybody, like Germany, for instance, comes in and starts attacking, the princess's country, and this part of the place doesn't have any magic or ley lines underneath it, the, witch can't do nothing about it. Izetta will not be able to stop them at all. But the thing is that all the countries that are up against them, they don't know that. Nobody knows the true weakness of the witches besides the people that were in that room when Izetta revealed that information. Now, I'm going to assume that there was going to be some form of setup for a betrayal or something like that, because that's kind of what this, episode was focusing on. We had to where the bodyguard throughout majority of this episode was constantly questioning Izetta if Izetta was, could be trusted. Like, this person's very suspicious. I think you can't be trusted. And eventually you had it to where the bodyguard trusted Izetta. But I feel like the way this was presented in the episode, especially what the episode was about with such crucial information about the witches, I feel like there's probably some form of spy amongst their ranks that's going to reveal the truth about the ley lines, the map that's in the, the ancient capital and all that. I sense something like that happening. But getting back down into the world building with the witches and stuff. So Izetta at this time, though, she is not an all-powerful being. For instance, even though, let's say she has a ley line underneath her, and she has all this strength to draw upon and use her magic, we've seen instances in the past, with her flashback in this episode, that she could not control her magic power. So I feel like this is also a potential setup for something to happen really bad in the future. For instance, let's say there's a scene where an army's charging, the capital is about to be overrun and completely burned to the ground, and all of a sudden Izetta can't use her magic abilities because her power is going out of control because she's used it so much. Now, it's not explained necessarily what is causing that. Like, she just couldn't control her powers, they were going out of control. It's not explained what was doing that, but with the way that was brought up and presented in this episode, it lets us know that maybe something like this will happen in the future when, like, maybe a big battle happens. Now, I do hope there's proper setup to this. I hope it's just not something that comes out of nowhere. Like, what I'm getting at is this. Let's say, there's a big fight. It's like, Germany has pushed the princess and all her people into the final town, okay? I don't want to have it to where maybe Izetta, her power goes out of control out of nowhere. Even though it got proper build-up with this episode, like it was mentioned, I don't want it to where, like, Izetta, all of a sudden her power just starts going fucking haywire in one episode and everything fucks up. I want, that gradual build-up with it. Like, for instance, let's say the first battle, she notices something's wrong with her magic, like she's losing control slowly. Second battle comes around, she notices she's still losing control. Third battle comes around, Princess Fine, she's realizing something's going on, and then, maybe Fine finds out about how, she's losing control of her magic, and then finally the overall outcome of it happens to where she completely loses control, and a bunch of people die because of that. I would like that type of proper build-up to that, if that is what happens, because, I mean, with the potential of her losing control, I don't want it just popping up just to add drama for the sake of drama or a dramatic effect. I want it to have that gradual build-up if it's going to be a thing in the story. Now, regardless of that, though, let's talk about the character development that we got. So, Princess Fine and Izetta, as we've seen, these two characters, they have been, like, alongside each other for a long time. They're kind of best friends. And Izetta and the Princess Fine, they both help each other, and they help each other progress on with their life and move on, continue walking, so to say. And we see how Izetta, she actually learned the reason why she wants to help out her friend, the princess, so much because of her speech. After the speech she did for her, it wasn't just what she did for her in the past, saving her from the village that was attacking her, but also the princess standing up and saying, like, I'm sorry I can't tell you to where to live, live your life at. I shouldn't be telling you where to die or when to die. I should be one giving you guys hope for the future. And the way the princess said that to all her soldiers, it really inspired and moved Izetta, and it made her realize why she cares so much about her and why she cares about this country and why she wants to protect it. So overall, it was a great episode for that, showing this development of why these motives are going like they are with Izetta, why she's, doing this. But also when she kind of goes against what her grandma wished. As we found out with a flashback, is that the grandma stated to Izetta, never go down the path of the White Witch. The White Witch is a traitor. The White Witch is someone you do not want to be like, Izetta. You do not want to be like her at all. But eventually you had it to where Izetta completely denied that and decided to become, the second coming of the White Witch, going completely against her grandma. She now has revealed the information about the ley lines. She now has a map. The people have the map. You have it to where now she's pretty much going to be declared as the next White Witch. So she went completely against her grandma that raised her. It's really sad when you think about it, and she's doing this because of someone she really cares about. And I feel like this is probably going to come back to bite her. I mean, she says she's the only witch left alive, but I highly doubt that. I mean, let's really dive right into that. I highly doubt she's probably the final witch. There probably could be another witch out in hiding somewhere, maybe hiding deep, remote in the woods or something. I could see something like that happening, because there's no way she is the only witch left. I mean, it's just too big of a fucking world for her to be the only witch left, or someone that can use magic in the world. It's way too big of a world for her to be the only one left. Now, getting off of that, let's talk about one of the points that really bugged me with this episode. So, the fan service. Now, as I've stated, I'm fine with some fan service. Some fan service I can look past. I'd be like, fuck it, I can look past it. But when it comes to a series that's already set up such a serious tone, with the way we've seen death, and we've seen, fighting, war, and all this in recent episodes, I'm not a big fan of shows that try to incorporate fan service just to kind of slow down the pacing of a show, because let's get right into that. This episode was a chill, calm episode. That's what it was. At the end of the day, if you really look at it, it was a calm episode, and it wasn't as intense as the previous episodes of Izetta. But the fan service scenes, they just did not fit the feel or the theme of what this show is really about. I mean, of course, the person that is the reporter has a lot of information, is going to be someone that has propaganda for the entirety of The Witch, but I feel like the way the fan service was presented, it was just poorly executed, and I felt like it was just there to kind of slow down the episode, or just adding fan service for the sake of fan service to boost the BD sales. That's what I feel like it was for. So I'm a little bit upset with that, because I felt like it distracted the main point of this episode, which was very serious to begin with. There was a lot of good moments about this episode, and honestly, it was a great episode, but I felt like like they threw that in thinking they may not have had a really good episode, so they threw in that fan service to kind of distract everyone, to say, oh, here you go, here's some fan service, you'll like this since it's a slow episode. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed with that, but regardless of that, it was a good episode. I just hope the series doesn't go down that route of just throwing in fan service constantly for the sake of fan service because they want to sell their BDs, but also they don't know what direction to go with the show. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.